On today's episode of How to Premiere Pro, I'm going to show you how we went from this to this. So the first thing I do is I want to, typically you do this completely in a different order, but I did it for this reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Lumetri to my main clip, and I'm going to do some color correction on my subjects. I'm not going to worry about the color I'm changing in the background, the green, whatever I'm doing. I want my subjects to look the way I want them to look. So I'm going to do, the first thing I do is I just mess with the RGBs a little, just to kind of get their skin tones where I feel mix and pop. So the trick is just finding what's what you need a little bit of. You don't need a lot. If you do a lot, look how weird that looks. So you just need to move things real subtly just to make them pop a little bit. And then we're just gonna bring up the overall brightness just a tad. And then I go to my basic tones, the contrast, the highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. And I like to just mess with these really subtly. The blacks, not too much. Whites, we'll leave it about right there. Shadows, let's drop it down. Highlights, let's bring it up. I do like my contrast. And then my tint and exposure, my temperature, I'm gonna bring it some blue, and then I'm gonna bring my tint just a bit to the negative side. Bring my temperature back. See how that looks off and on. So it does give them a little color. Something I like to add, vibrance, just brings out their color. And then what Lumetri has that I love, it has all these presets, tons and tons of presets. I do like these because it just kind of gives it like that little cinematic look. Nothing too harsh, nothing too heavy. So I just bring that intensity and just bring it up just a little bit, just to add it. So that, to me, that looks good. I'm gonna show you what it looks off and then it's back on. So I feel really good about my subjects at that point. And if you notice, it did change the green screen a little, but that's not a big deal. So that's the first thing we do, is we adjust our subjects to how we want them to look. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust our green to one solid color. It's really hard when you're filming, it's really hard to get your green perfect. It could be nearly impossible, especially if you're shooting in a small area, if you're shooting with limited light, it really makes it challenging. And when you don't get that green screen perfect, it makes it challenging in your post-production to get that, to knock out the green screen so you can completely separate your subjects from it. But there's this trick that is in Lumetri that we can do to kind of, it's not necessarily cheating our way, but it helps us. So we're gonna scroll down to HSL, which stands for Hue, Saturation, Lightness, Secondary. And we're going to start with this set color. We're gonna click it, and we're gonna click kind of the dominant green, which I feel is about right here. And then we're gonna show our show mask, click that on. So now this is what it looks like. So now we're gonna add a color. You're just gonna click, and we're just gonna click, and it kind of just separates it. Click and click, just to get rid of all of that extra shadows that are really hard, that are tricky just to get right when you're filming it. So we're just gonna continue adding. After you adjusted your green screen, now we're gonna go down to our color wheel, and we're gonna pick the color that we want our background to be. So we're gonna move it around and kind of just look and see where we get to. The neat thing is you can bring this one, and you can get your shadows, midtones, and highlights, and you can really kind of get in there and get nitpicky with what kind of color you want. Let's go with the highlight just to see what we're getting. Just something completely different from what it started as. So let's go with that color. Okay. So now we're gonna show mask, And then that's our color. Looking great, right? We went from, let me just show you. We went from this to this. So we accomplished two things already. We did some color correction on the subjects, and now we got our background color the where we want it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna screenshot just a solid image of our background. We're gonna screenshot that, and we're gonna open that screenshot in Photoshop. Here's our screenshot in Photoshop. And the reason we're bringing our screenshot in Photoshop is because we want to take out our subject so we can have a solid background. I got that the shortcut key for lasso is L. I couldn't talk and lasso at the same time because I had to keep my hand steady. But that's just a rough cut. It doesn't need to be perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Edits, Content Aware Fill, and that's our preview. And that's what it's gonna look like. So we're gonna hit OK, and now our subjects are gone. Boom, like magic. But what I like to do is I like to add an extra layer, and I like to hit the S for stamp tool and just kind of just clean those shadows up a little bit. So we're gonna lower our opacity down to about 42 just to kind of stamp it in and just kind of blend everything in as one. See this little harsh part right here? We just want to kind of clean that up so it's not so harsh. There we go. Just to soften everything, clean up the tools so it just looks realistic. There we go. Yeah. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna lasso this little the light stand foot just to get that out also, just to get a cleaner image. All right, we're gonna go back to Edit, Content Aware Fill. Oh, wrong layer. All right, let's go to that layer. Content Aware Fill. Thank you. And it's gone. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna save this and we're gonna open that file back into Photoshop. I'm sorry, we're gonna open that file back into Premiere. All right, so now we have our created Photoshop file in Premiere. So we're gonna bring that under here, under our main subject layer. So now let's go back to this one. And for now, I'm gonna enable it just so we can know what we're doing. So we're gonna go back to our main subject layer and go back to your hue, saturation, and lightness secondary. And you're gonna reset your colors. And you're gonna go back to a single tone just to get your green screen. You just want a solid green screen to green screen it out. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so now we got our green where we want it. We're gonna add our Alt key to take out that green. And you always wanna find the dominant green to make your life easier, because if I go with this green on top, it's the bottom one's a little softer. So I feel if we go about this area, we should achieve our goal. So we're gonna change the output to alpha channel. We're gonna mess with all of these settings. Now this part does take a little bit of time because you really wanna just tweak things around, try moving one, move another. It takes time to get it perfect. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not hard either. Also, it takes patience. It's not the click of a button and you're gonna achieve exactly what you want. Okay, so let's go back to composite. So that looks pretty decent. So now what we're gonna add is we're gonna add a crop factor. Let's close the Alt key and we got our crop. We're gonna open our left and right. Crop the left side. We're gonna crop the right. And now we're gonna bring in our back layer, the one we created in Photoshop. And then we're just gonna ununiform the scale and we're just gonna stretch it out. These are the tips and tricks that I have learned to eliminate my green screen, to change my color background. You can do this for other subjects, for other colors, to do different things. It's really the thing. I really hope what you learn from here, you pick up, you use it however you want, and then I'll see you in the next one.